Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, Dave Patenaude.
How's the, I guess, first couple of days of practice been? Knocking rust off?
It's been good. I mean, the carryover from the spring has been terrific. Guys had a really, really good summer. They're in tremendous shape. Their understanding of what we're doing is great, and it's a testimony to what they did during the off season. Watching, a lot of tape and a lot of cut-ups and getting out there and throwing with the guys, running 7-on-7 stuff during, at night. A lot of these guys, our schedule was crazy around here. That they come in, they work out, they go to an internship, they come back, and then they go 7-on-7 a couple nights a week, and the quarterbacks run that. So it's been really good. Really happy with where we are. Got a long way to go here over the next 3 weeks, but really happy with where we are.
You've got a large group at both running back and receiver. How important is it for you to run those 2 huddles for them to get all those reps?
Yeah, that's a tremendous thing about how we practice, and that's been something that we did, at the other places that we've been also, is that your development is so much more advanced, especially for the young guys. You got guys that are in there that are freshmen that might have to be, a guy down the line, and they're getting invaluable reps, over there. The young quarterback development is really good because you have so many more reps, and you just got to kind of monitor it. You got to, you can't run, 5,000 reps in practice, right? You got to be smart about how many reps you're getting. But the development, there's no question. Anytime you're getting, 150 to 175 reps in a practice, guys are getting better.
How's Jordan Yates been handling? He was here a lot in the spring, just watching. Are you seeing some of the benefits of him just being able to soak some of that up?
Mm-hmm. He's really, really smart. Even back then, we had sent him a bunch of information and said, listen, just learn this stuff. And when he came in and reported with the other freshmen, he was like, right on top of his game. He can, get on the board and he can draw all the stuff up and answer all the questions, Now, when the bullets start to fly a little bit, it's a different story. You got to stand back there and, they're coming a lot faster than they did 6 months ago when he was playing in the playoffs.
Something that Coach Collins has hit on here, over the last few months is no longer being a scheme-based program, but a player-based program. When I hear that, it kind of seems abstract, and so I wanted to ask you specifically, are there any concrete examples of that in the way that you base player-based program with scheme-based program, and how that works for you and what you're doing with this offense?
Well, I think that they do marry, especially on offense, because I think, schematically, you're not tied to one specific scheme, maybe like, in the triple option, right? They were going to run the spread option and run it tremendously well, no matter who the guys were that they had, and then they would recruit for that system. I think for us, it's really identifying who those guys are that are playmakers for us, what our guys can handle up front, what the quarterbacks can handle, and then kind of tailoring everything around what each individual guy can do, and then finding, let's say, who's that one wide receiver that could go get the ball and putting him in a position where he can go get the ball, and then just kind of building it that way instead of saying, listen, this is what we do, and we're just going to stick the pegs in and, make it fit. Great coaching, I think, is really identifying who you have and putting all the pieces together to best put your best outfit out there.
Just to that end, you saw them in the spring, you had the whole summer to kind of think about it. I remember you talked about how this is kind of a fun exercise to figure out what you do with guys. How much of an idea now do you have about here's what I think we're going to...
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea of what the skill set is and, where we are. We're still looking for overall development. I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to want to be. I'm obviously not going to tell anybody else that,
right.
But I think we have a good general idea of what the guys are doing. But still, even today, we're seeing things that were so much better than what we did in the spring because the guys just understand more. And when you look at our guys physically, they look tremendous. Coach Carrella, what he did with his guys in the off season is as valuable as anything that's been done in this program. Our guys, look leaner, they're stronger, they're really fit. And so now you're seeing guys being able to do some things that they might not have been able to do in the spring because, they just weren't as fit as they needed to be. So, we're, it's been a total work in progress, and but I kind of like exactly where we're going.
You have sort of 2 styles of running backs. You have sort of your traditional tailbacks, and then you have some all-purpose guys, and you've been flexing them kind of in and out and stuff, how helpful, I guess, is that to have some of that flexibility with a guy like Nate or Omari or some of those guys?
I mean, I think that that's really important because, you know, if you're a defensive coordinator and you look at a certain personnel grouping, you're going to look at the plays that they've run out of that personnel grouping, and you're going to defend those plays week to week. But if you can change the looks with 2 running backs in the game, or even being 2 running backs in the tight end, but, you know, change the looks week to week, I think that that's, you know, really important for your flexibility, and it gives you more depth. You know, if you can move some of those guys around and they can play a little bit of slot, and, you know, maybe one week you're down a couple guys or whatever, you can, you know, you have to be able to mix and match. And it's always been something that we've tried to do offensively, is to cross-train all of our skill guys to be able to play anywhere from the number 1 receiver all the way into the backfield, so that you can motion guys out, get into different sets. And then you're just teaching a general concept, but they know if I'm number 1, I'm number 2, I'm in the backfield, I'm number 3, this is what I do. And then we could just move guys, move sets, but it's still the same play.
Naturally, pass protection is a big part of what you do. We talked to a couple of the offensive linemen. They felt they were making good progress. What has your observation been?
Yeah, I mean, way more advanced than they were those first couple of days. You know, the first couple of days they were head down, trying to headbutt somebody when they were running through. I think the biggest gain that they've made, and certainly they're much better technically, and Brent's done an unbelievable job with him. He's a tremendous offensive line coach, is their understanding of the scheme and the understanding of defense. And when your understanding of a protection comes together with your understanding of a defense and how they're trying to attack you, you can be much more efficient, because you're not guessing, right? You're not playing on your heels. You're like, okay, I see this look. I've seen this look 1,000 times on tape. I know what they're going to do here. And you can basically predict the blitz before it happens. And now you can play with a lot more confidence. You can communicate a lot more. You're not out there on an island frozen trying to guess on what's going on. So I think that their overall mental development has been a huge piece of it also.
Has Lucas separated himself at all yet, or are you seeing the growth that you expected, kind of having an off season to kind of marinate on the stuff?
He's been great, but they all have. You know, Tobias has been sick the last couple of days, so he has, you know, we haven't seen him do a whole lot, but he had a tremendous off season. And James Graham has grown a lot. You know, he was the first one answering questions in the meeting the other night, and he really put in a lot of hard work over the summer and in the spring to kind of really figure out what he is. I mean, those 3 guys are really, really good players. You know, I know everybody wants to try to make it such that, you know, and we've answered this question 1,000 times, you know, you have option quarterbacks. No, I mean, we got really, really good dual quarterbacks. And, you know, they can run and throw, and that's what you're going to see.
Is Tobias able to be in the meetings right now, or is he...
We'll find out a little bit more today. You know, he's been feeling a little down, so we kept him out of the meetings. But, I mean, he could come into the meeting right now and teach it. You know what I mean? He's been in there the whole summer. He's been in there. You know, I was back in the office last week, you know, and he was in there just hanging out watching stuff, and I'd say, hey, what are you going to do here? And, you know, it's not like, you know, he doesn't look at me like, you know, speaking a foreign language, right? He looks at me, he's like, okay, yeah, we would have to do this, we would have to do that. So, you know, I'm not worried about him, you know, not being around for the last couple of days.
The restocking of the tight end position, obviously an emphasis, and you have 3 guys on scholarship.
Yeah, we look good, right? You got a whole line of guys that are 6'4", 235. It was really cool.
And you have some walk-ons and stuff.
Yeah.
So you have actually some bodies now. Have you noticed kind of a little bit of that in the practices? And
Yeah, I mean, did you see Tyler Davis run down the middle of the field and catch a 65-yard touchdown pass? I mean, the great thing with him is he was 235 in the spring. He's 255 right now. He looks amazing. Chris Wiesenhan is a tremendous tight end coach. I mean, you know, he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country, never mind. And he does a great job with those guys. And he said to Tyler, listen, I've done a study of every pro tight end that's got drafted in the last 5 years, and here's the look. You're 6'4" or better, and you're 250 or better. And Tyler said, okay, that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. And now he put on great weight. And again, Lou did a tremendous job with him of identifying, listen, I need to be bigger so I can hold up in a run game, but I can't be the bad body tight end either. You know, I still got to be strapped up so I can do what I did today. And, you know, we put him in the slot. You know, I think you might have saw some stuff. We were like a 21 personnel today, right? We had, you know, the tight end, the 2 fullbacks in there, and he was the slot, and he ran right by the safety, and, he threw the ball over the top, made a really good play. And, really the development of those younger guys has been really good, and I like, a couple of those freshman guys are going to, be pretty good players.
Curious to go back to what I was asking about, just kind of what you think it might look like. I think it would be a logical conclusion, just because you don't have a lot of experience at tight end, like maybe, and you have a lot of backs and receivers that maybe in terms of getting guys on the field, that's probably more where you'd be headed. Would that be reasonable?
I don't know about that. I mean, if you look at us historically, we're about 70% 11 personnel. You know what I mean? So the cool thing about what we do is we can put 2 good backs on the field and a tight end. You can put 2 backs on the field and 3 wide receivers. And just mix and match game to game or series to series, play to play. Part of what I think makes us a little bit more difficult to defend than a lot of the true spread teams who are only in 1, 2, or 3 different formations is that we may be in 3 or 4 different personnel groupings in 10 or 12 different formations per game. And again, it'll come back to, those 2 running backs or those 3 or 4 running backs are playing really, really well. So now you got to figure out a way to get split backs on the field, and we've won a lot of games and moved the ball a lot with 2 backs in the backfield. We're really good with that. And then, if one of the young tight ends came along, then, so now you have, again, you have a 12 personnel package, you have 2 tight ends on the field. You're running the same routes that you installed day 1 with the wide receivers. Now it's just another guy. And so the way that we cross-train everybody, you're going to be able to mix and match and move guys in and out. But we do have really good depth at running back, and if you watch Coach Choice on the sideline, I mean, he's just rolling those dudes into practice, and it's not just on one field. You have really, really good players on both fields. You have 8, 9, 10 guys that are really competing.
A couple more for Coach Patenaude.
In terms of the slot position, in the pure slots anyways, really it was Brown and Blancato in the spring, and they have some newer guys, younger guys as well. Kind of what are you seeing from that spot so far?
Yeah, I mean, those 2 guys have still been, the guys that have been running with the first group. And then, we didn't do it a lot in the spring, but you can move the outside guys inside. I mean, Malachi Carter would be a tremendous slot. And he's playing at an unbelievable level right now. He's I haven't been around all of the ACC teams, but I'm not trading that dude for a lot of guys. He's been really, really good. So you can move him inside. Tyler Davis can move outside. You can move, Nate Cottrell out into the slot or Amari out into the slot. So you're going to have, to mix and match some of those guys. And then, Kalani Norris has been in there, and he's been really good the first 2 days. So. Traditionally, we wouldn't put a young guy out there right away, but I mean, if those young guys are playing really well, and Azir has been playing really well on the outside, so now you have the ability to move some of the outside guys inside. So again, I mean, we'll just continue to mix and match people and cross-train guys, and we don't just say, hey, you're a slot, because today in practice, Tyler played the slot, and we moved Marion outside. So when we teach them, it's like, okay, this is what the scheme is, these are the concepts, this is what you do. If you get plugged in at A, B, C, D, or E, this is what you have to do.
Curious, I noticed Jordan yesterday, he was signaling in plays, and you were putting information, he was kind of directing guys around. Is that something you would normally expect of a freshman in his first practice to be able to do? Or is it... Yeah,
I mean, all of the quarterbacks and a bunch of the coaches are all responsible for being able to signal. During the course of the game, if you, the best way to learn to read the signal is to be able to signal it yourself. So you're just creating a depth of understanding of being able to get out there. And some guys will be live signalers, some guys won't. And but Jordan's really smart, right? He's a football guy. So it's not hard to say, hey, signal this, and he just kind of goes over. It's just part of learning, just like, hey, you run a post here. It's like, okay, this is what the signal is. And when we meet, it's, you look at the play, you look at the playbook page, you look at the signal, and then you watch some cut-ups, and it's all part of the deal.
Okay.